What's up, guys, and welcome back to another episode of Dream a Little. The podcast is all about helping you feel confident about your kink so you can share it with your significant other. Today's featured iTunes review comes from John, who says, I've been binging on this podcast over the last week. Lo is so relatable, knowledgeable, and reassuring. Thank you for helping to take the fear and shame from embracing for the first time in my 30 plus years my fetish. Wow, John, thank you so much for the kind words. I'm really happy that I could help you feel less fearful and ashamed for being ABDL. Guys, I hope you know that I read every single review on iTunes. So if you want to be featured on the next podcast, just go ahead and leave a review. It would really mean the world to me. This is the first episode of the Confidently Kinky October series, where I'm going to be sharing my best tips to help you introduce ABDL to your partner all month long. If you still haven't opened up to your partner because you're afraid of being rejected, misunderstood, or outed to your friends and family, I've got you. I'm releasing my first ever course in November of 2018 that will help you introduce ABDL to your partner without scaring them off. So if you want to be the first to know when this course is live and also get a discount, be sure to sign up for my free Confidently Kinky VIP list at thelittlelounge.com/course. That's thelittlelounge.com/course. As always, I'm going to link to that in the show notes. And before we get started, I really wanted to let you know that if you've made any of the mistakes that I mentioned in this episode, don't get caught up in it. I know that I only feel comfortable sharing these mistakes because I've made every single mistake in the book myself. And these are the most common ones that most ABDLs make. So don't beat yourself up. We've all been there at one point or another. Even if you've made this mistake, it doesn't mean that your chances of introducing kink are totally over. So let's just dive into the top mistakes. The first one is not testing your partner first. You need to find out your partner's acceptance of other kinks, and you really need to know how much they understand about human sexuality in general. They need to get that human sexuality is not just black and white. It's kind of crazy sometimes, it's kind of out there, and that is normal. So you've got to start the talk out with something mild and socially acceptable. Things like restraints, being blindfolded, all the kink 101 stuff. Don't just dive into the diaper talk without discussing other aspects, or at least teasing in a playful way that you're more kinky than they know. And when you teach someone to swim, hopefully you don't just jump into the water and, kick them off board. You want to teach them the basics. You want to dip their toes in the water. You want to teach them how to kick, how to hold their breath, all these other things. And, if you throw someone overboard, they might learn how to swim, but they could also be so traumatized from the experience that they never want to swim again. So the key here is to really ease them into the kinky world by starting out with something mild first and testing their interest. The second mistake most ABDLs make is not as intuitive. It's a small detail that makes a huge difference, and that is putting a label on your kink. When you tell someone that you're an ABDL, it just gives them this keyword to go and research online. And the problem with that is that the internet is such a strange place, and more likely than not, if you search for ABDL, you'll see the biggest hits on the internet are people sometimes showcasing this kink inaccurately. And even if there isn't someone shedding the kink in a negative light in the Google search, just the images that pop up are probably going to be too much for your partner to handle since they're not used to seeing adults in diapers. And you want to give your partner enough information to understand this kink from the surface. You need to water it down, focus on the feelings you get from ABDL rather than the props that you're using. For me, one of the main draws to being ABDL is really the caregiver little dynamic and how the interaction is between the two. So for example, instead of saying something like, I'm an ABDL or I'm into ABDL, you can tell them that you have a thing for feeling needed, or you love feeling helpless or cared for in a special loving way, or even something like, I really enjoy being embarrassed or humiliated. Start with why you like it instead of saying something just like, I like to wear diapers. That statement can be very confusing for someone who is not into the kink themselves. Mistake number 3 builds on the previous mistake, which is doing a random Google search together. Trust me, I know it's tempting to do this because it's downright hard to tell your partner what you want, but this could be the most awkward 5 minutes of your life. I did this with my ex because I was really having a hard time putting my kink into words, so I decided to pull up Google. I seriously regretted doing this because I couldn't find anything that made this kink look cute. Even I was cringing at some of the photos and videos that came up during this random search. So just know that this can do more harm than good. And this was true in my case, so I do not recommend doing this. If anything, I recommend creating a Tumblr so you can curate cute content to share with your partner. In my course, I walk you through exactly how to set up your blog strategically so you don't scare your partner off, but you can educate them about your kink. The 4th mistake most ABDLs make when opening up is the most important. So if you only take away one thing from this podcast episode, listen up. If you're distracted, if you're doing dishes or playing with your pet, just come back to me. The most common mistake ABDLs make when they're explaining their kink is explaining it as if they are opening up about a terminal illness. I am 100% guilty of this. I think a lot of us assume that this conversation has to be long and drawn out and difficult, but that's really not the case. Even though we've been conditioned to think of our kink as a flaw and something that we need to hide inside, that's not necessarily true. And when you make that mindset shift, you'll realize that you can actually make it sound fun and enjoyable and something that your partner could be interested in trying. But it starts with changing the way that you see your kink. So there you have it, my friends. Those were the 4 most common mistakes most ABDLs make when they explain their kink. To me, this episode was a short one, but it was like a walk down memory lane. Although I have made every one of those mistakes, and at the time it felt like I was dying a slow and painful death, I walked away from that experience learning a lot. One of the most important and surprising lessons that I learned was that even though my partner was by no means interested in ABDL at that time, I learned that rejection actually isn't that bad. It doesn't mean your partner is going to end your relationship, usually. And if your partner does want to end things based off a silly little kink, I would really question your compatibility in the first place. Again, if you want me to walk you through this process, to give you examples of what to say and give you a step-by-step guide to follow so you don't have to guess what comes next, you don't want to miss out on my Confidently Kinky course. You can sign up to be on the VIP list for free, so you'll be the first to know when the course goes live, and you'll also get an exclusive discount. Go ahead and sign up for free at thelittlelounge.com/course. I'll see you there.